Bryan Dakar is looming. Workshops are a hive of activity. 12 cars in Dakar 2024.
Yeah, hopefully 12. It's been a long stretch. Last year we were 10. The year before we were 10. So yeah, great for Century Racing.
And the CR7, the four-wheel drive T1 Ultimate. That's been a bit of an eye-opener, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a real big push from the team, from Julian, the design team as well. The car started driving in September, late September. So yeah, only 3 months down the line, and it's been going really well. We didn't expect it to be doing this well, so we're excited to launch it at Dakar. We didn't think we would be this far, honestly. So yeah, it's really impressive that the car is as far as it is, and everything's working as well as it is. Yeah,
it's a. Shall we call it an evolution of the 6? Biggest thing, it's four-wheel drive, but there's a whole lot of other changes, a lot of detail, a lot of reliability issues that have been out-designed or designed into solving any potential unreliability. So
yeah, it's a complete redesign from the CR6 and the CR6 T, the turbo. Yeah, it's almost a clean sheet. You can't say there's very few common parts used. You know, it's the headlights and the windscreen, the two that I can think of off the top.
Windscreen wiper?
No, not even the windscreen wiper. So yeah, complete new car. Okay, besides the engine and the intercooler that we started testing on the two-wheel drive, you know, that package, the power package, if you want to call it that. So that gave us a head start on the engine development, which was always the idea in the first place. That's why we pushed last year to have the turbos running on the start line last year. So last year was the same mad rush in terms of R&D, getting the turbo engines to the start line for the first time. Now it's having the whole package there this year for the first time.
And engine moved from the back to mid-forward. It's now four-wheel drive, different diffs, gearbox. It's, as you say, a complete new car. What are the highlights in driving the car for you? I mean, you've got two roles here in the workshop, building them, but then driving them. What's, from a driving point of view, what are the highlights for you?
Four-wheel drive is definitely a lot easier to drive. You're a lot more committed through the corners. You can use the power through the corners to hold your trajectory through the corners. So yeah, it's a thrill to drive, more of a rally car. The two-wheel drive is still probably the funnest car to drive out there though. It's a pure thrill to drive. The two-wheel drive, we've got 440 mils of wheel travel. Here we've got 350 mils of wheel travel. So, you know, we have a little bit less travel here, but it's still, you know, it's still really impressive what this car is able to achieve even with less travel. The suspension's a big part of that. R53 dampers, we've been really impressed with their technology that they've been able to bring forward with us. And yeah, 8 dampers on the car. You know, a lot of guys have got 4 dampers in the car, so that improves reliability. Yeah, and then the weight of the car, 2,000 kilograms versus 1,600 kilograms. So.
And that 400 kilograms is huge. It's 25% heavier.
It's really big, but I was pleasantly surprised as a driver to see how well the car still braked, still held through the corners and everything. So yeah, you feel it in acceleration, but it's still impressive how we managed to hold traction and be faster through the corners in a lot of aspects. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a bit more uncomfortable than the two-wheel drive. You shake around a bit more. But it's still mightily impressive, yeah.
And from a building point of view, there's a lot more stuff. And if you go back to the normally aspirated V8 rear-wheel drive car, you've got cooling issues for days in this thing. Building them is not an easy task.
Not at all. I wouldn't say we have cooling issues. You know, we've sorted all that out. But it's to cool. You can start. It's the radiator, intercooler, power steering, front diff, rear diff, transfer case. What am I missing?
Gearbox.
Engine oil cooler as well. Yeah, gearbox cooler, so I'm on 8 now.
Oh, and what about the air conditioner cooler?
Of course, brake cooling as well. Yeah, your condenser for the aircon, so we're on 10 coolers now. So yeah, there's definitely a lot more components to cool and to control. There still was a fair amount on the two-wheel drive as well. But yeah, just going from the V8 to the turbo engine alone is also a lot more complex, a lot more control, a lot more to tune. You know, for the end user, it's not so bad. Just in terms of development, it's a lot to work on. So it's a lot of work for the engineers and for the programmers and that sort of thing. But it's a lot of fun, you know. It's a lot more parameters to play with.
Many people play with jigsaw puzzles as a hobby and a mind quietener. This is a three-dimensional, super complex jigsaw puzzle.
Absolutely. So I mean, on a normal V8 engine, you'll play with the amount of fuel you're putting in the engine, and then you'll play with the ignition timing, and that's sort of where it stops. Now we almost on 5 or 6 parameters where you're doing those two, but you direct injection, so you're timing the injection, the fuel injection as well. So that's an extra one.
And you're timing it to get the anti-lag on the turbo.
Yeah. So I'll get to that. So then you've got variable cam timing as well. So you're controlling variable cam timing. Then you've got anti-lag to tune as well, to keep the turbo spooled, to keep to reduce the lag. So when you put your foot down, there's no lag. And what am I forgetting?
And then that's all overlaid with a temperature and an air pressure map or factors.
Well, the turbo power is controlled to a certain boost curve. So we go to FIA and they run the car on a dyno, and they tell us 264 kilowatt curve. That's the curve that we're allowed to run. So we, according to that power curve, when we dyno, they give us then the boost curve. So that's what's constantly monitored at the race. They come every day, they download our logging between us and all the different cars. Although we're a 2.9 litre engine, we still make the same power as the 3.5 litre Toyotas and Fords. And the Audi as well, the ProDrive. Sometimes they've got this that new system they brought in, the balance of performance. So you'll see Audi's been given a little bit more power this year. They claim there's more losses in certain areas, etc., etc. So it's all a big political game as well. You know, the lobbying of who needs more power and who can who can convince.
Who's been sandbagging through the year and to go for that, 2 or 3 years and then see how we can get a hybrid car. It's not, Audi is not an electric car. It's a plumbing. Anyway, back to your car. You've also, in the design, and we'll talk to Julian about it, there are a lot of innovations that if something goes wrong or the car's in a compromising position, to limit damage. I'm thinking of the steel brake ducts.
Yeah, so that was another aspect that of cooling as well is the water cooling on all the brakes. That's something we didn't do on the two-wheel drive. We didn't need that. Now the heavier car, we need that. So the air ducts on the brakes also just helps that doesn't put too much heat into the water system. There's some really good thinking from Julian in terms of symmetry of the parts. So it's one top wishbone fits all 4 corners on the car. The bottom wishbone the same, so it's basically 2 wishbones for the entire car. Left fits into right, so you don't need a left upright, you don't need a right upright. So there's some really clever thinking there in terms of minimizing the amount of parts you need to carry for the race trucks and the backup trucks
and also for the marathon stages where you're on your own for a night and you've got to have the stuff with you.
And most importantly for the clients, the clients at the end of the day, we want a car that's affordable for the clients. We don't want them to have to carry 1,000 parts to go to races. So that's been the whole thinking of this car, is to make it very easy to service, the minimal parts, and super strong as well. Super strong, super reliable. There's been a lot of bearing types of bearings, points, and things on the wishbones we've tried to improve from the CR6 as well, to make it just the serviceability so much easier and longer lasting for the client and the end user, and for ourselves. I mean, when we go to Dakar, we want to be able to focus on the Dakar, not have to rebuild cars every night.